This is a review of the 10-quart NuWave Brio air fryer. This review is based on my opinion and your experiences may differ. So before I get to the review, I want to talk about air fryers in general. Air fryers do not cook as good as deep fryers with a couple of exceptions. Chicken seems to be made for air fryers. They cook very well just about any way you put it, with probably one exception. If you're trying to make that southern deep fried chicken that's heavily battered, the batter doesn't really come out as good as it would in a deep fryer. The chicken comes out great, but the batter doesn't. Also, egg rolls and lumpia wrappers cook really well in the air fryer. Not quite as crispy as the deep fryer, but they're very good. Of course, you still need to saturate the wrapper with oil, but you don't need to put oil inside of the wrapper. So the air fryers cook fast, but they're not hot enough to have that Maillard reaction without the risk of overcooking the food. So if you're trying to make a kebab that's only maybe an inch thick and put that kind of char or sear on the outside, you're going to overcook it. On the other hand, if you try to cook a really big piece like a roast, the outside will start to dry out. So most of these air fryers seem to be made in plastic and probably from the same manufacturers in China. These aren't really meant to be repaired, and if something fails, even if it's covered under warranty, it usually means an entire replacement. Also think about, if you have to send the air fryer back, even though it's under warranty, the warranty may not cover the cost of shipping. So these air fryers are fairly large. Depending where you're at, that can be anywhere from $20, $50, or maybe even more. All right, so on to the review. I've been using this air fryer for about 7 months now. So I think I have a good understanding of how it works. So I'll first cover the construction of the air fryer. Check out my previous video where I took it apart and looked at the insides. So I'm no professional, but it didn't look like it was over-engineered where there's extra material in the air fryer that would ultimately increase the overall cost of the appliance. On the other hand, it looked like a lot of my other appliances and didn't seem like they used expensive parts. But I don't really know, so you guys tell me. So the outside of the air fryer is all plastic, including that piece right there. I thought that was glass when I first got it. So when you open this up, the bottom portion, this is a metal pan that's Teflon coated, and this is all metal. The top part, to my surprise, is all glass. So there is glass separating the top from the bottom compartment. So when I first got the air fryer and I opened it up, I was like, man, this thing is huge inside. But it turns out, because of the tray, this is really your primary cooking area if you want air to flow around your item. This will go on this rack. You can also put it a little bit lower, or even flip it around, put it on the bottom rack or at the top. But once you set it in, now you'll see that it's not as large as you would think it would be. The air fryer does come with a couple accessories. This is the Rotisserie accessory. Goes in there. And then the forks that you would place into your food and then just clamp it down. So in my review of previous air fryers, I stated I'm not a big fan of these because it uses a square hole, and as you can see, it's not perfectly straight. It's kind of at an angle, and it's not necessarily that easy to put it in here, especially as you're trying to put it into the food. So I kind of wish someone would just redo this. So one thing to note about this is when you put this in, there's a little metal clip that it just slides onto. If the piece that you're putting on the rotisserie is too big and it hits the bottom, like a rotisserie chicken, in my case, I used a chicken that was over 5 pounds. It was hitting the bottom. It was lifting this up, and eventually it popped it off while it was still rotating. Okay, the next accessory are the Kabob skewers. And to use these, you put this rack in, and then notice the indentations. It just lays on top like that. So it's fairly easy to use, but I did come across a problem with that. Because the air fryer, it cooks very fast wherever the air is blowing directly on. When you have pieces in here, it's hard to rotate them. In fact, it's almost impossible unless you can get it perfectly centered. So let's say you put a piece of steak on here that's a little there's more on the bottom side. That weight is always going to keep it down, and if you try to rotate it up, it just flips back down. That's what was happening to me. So you have to have it dead center. There are no preset settings. You just put the temperature you want, the time you want it, hit start. There are a couple of other functions in here. You can program your own settings that you want. You can even stage it, meaning you can cook it at one temperature for a certain amount of time and then make it increase for another certain amount of time. You can preheat the air fryer. I never use it. Air fryers in general don't really need to be preheated. The sear button did work great for a steak. I'll hit it. It automatically sets it at 8 minutes. Now, I've never used this button, but it has a warm button where it'll just keep things warm. Sets at 155 degrees. And there you go. As far as the ventilation, these are the intake. So it's taking air in from the front and it's blowing air out through the back. So just keep in mind, this area is going to be a little bit hotter. It's never burned me, but it does get fairly warm. So I normally put my air fryer next to my deep fryer right here, but I couldn't do that with this air fryer. And that's because it would hit the bottom of my cabinets when I open it up. So I couldn't fully open the air fryer. I would have to pull it out all the way to the edge. See, it's hanging off a little bit just to be able to get it. Oh, it's still not there. Right there. Then I can slide it back. So I found that to be a little dangerous, so I couldn't use it under my cabinets. So when you open the air fryer, you'll hear it click. 1, 2, and that's because of this gear lock mechanism. And it won't come back down, so it won't slam on your fingers. But to bring it back down, you gotta slightly lift it back to get the pressure off, and you have to pull this. And see, notice when I'm pulling it, the air fryer is moving. So I normally have to brace it with my thumb and pull it just to get it down. It's a little awkward, especially sometimes if I'm wearing gloves. It's very difficult to do it. So it would be nice if this mechanism was a little bit better, maybe an electronic button up in the front or something. So that's about it from the construction side. There wasn't anything that was really blew me away, but it had everything that I wanted, so I can't really complain. The only thing I wish was they kind of got rid of the plastic and just used metal. So let's get on to the cooking review. So I think I found a technique on how to determine if an air fryer can cook good or not. And that's using the Whirlpool method. And what I mean by that is, if you know how air fryers work, it uses a fan to blow air down, and it's going to circulate the air. So what I do is I fill the bottom up with water. I'm going to let the air circulate it, and I'm going to see where the Whirlpool, the center of it, is. If it's directly in the middle, then I know I'm going to get even cooking across the air fryer. So I'm not going to have like a cold spot in the corner and a hot spot in this corner. So my power air fryer oven had a hot spot near the front, and my ChefWave air fryer had the hot spot around here. Okay, so let's put it to the test. So I came up with an idea on how I can show the Whirlpool effect. I'm going to use some cereal kicks. Just going to drop a few in here. You can see, I'll spread it around a bit too. This is difficult. I can't close the lid because it requires 2 hands. Close the lid. Get back up. Turn it on. Oh, I gotta plug it in. Okay, plugged it in. Just gonna start it. There you go. See? Right in the middle. So over the last 7 months, I made a lot of things in this air fryer. I made these baby back ribs, this bacon hash brown breakfast egg bowl, banana bread, some homemade chicken pot pie, homemade apple pie, roasted honey glazed peanuts, chicken and beef kebabs, homemade pretzels, rotisserie chicken, and this went into the chicken pot pie, some Scotch eggs, a homemade shepherd's pie, some strawberry and banana turnovers, a New York strip steak, and this was made using the sear button. I just seasoned the steak, put the steak in the air fryer, hit the sear button, and let it cook for 8 minutes. I didn't flip it over and it came out great. Also made this potato galette, a rump roast, some teriyaki beef jerky, a very juicy tri-tip steak, these stuffed mushrooms, and a wide variety of vegetables. So this is my hydroponics experiment I'm doing. I'm mostly trying to grow herbs, and what's really great is as the herbs start getting too large, I just take clippings, I throw it in the air fryer and dry them out. So after I take the clippings, I'll rinse it off in the sink. I'll kind of hand shake dry it, and then I just throw it in the air fryer. It's very wet, but I set it at 170 for 1 hour, and it always dries it up perfectly fine. So as you can see, this is basil. That's a lot of basil. I don't even use that much basil. And this is parsley. So in closing, I'll cover the pros and cons of this air fryer. This air fryer comes with a manual which includes 41 recipes, which are pretty good. With the large pan, you have a lot of space to put things in if you're not using that rack. Because the air circulates evenly from the center, I didn't notice any cold or hot spots from the back and front or the sides. And everything I made seemed to have cooked evenly, especially when I compare it to my other air fryers. So let's go over some of the cons of the air fryer. Because of the way this opens, you're going to need more room above the air fryer. Because of the way that the lid locks, you need 2 hands to close it. One hand to hold the top and the other hand to release that locking mechanism. That can be difficult for kids if you let them use this or if you're wearing some type of glove. When using the rotisserie accessories, the rotisserie rod can pop out of that clip if you're cooking something big and it rubs on the bottom and lifts it up. Overall, I'm very pleased with the air fryer. It cooks really good, especially comparing it to my previous power air fryer oven and chef wave air fryers. I still prefer to have an air fryer with that front like glass door, but until I can find a good one, I'll probably stick with this air fryer. So there's one thing I wanted to bring up. Last year, July, so 2019, I contacted NuWave and asked them if they would like to provide me 2 air fryers and I'll make 5 videos. One air fryer I'll use and the other one I'll give away. They responded immediately, sent the air fryer, and I started making videos. I was actually enjoying the air fryer a lot more than I thought I would, and I think I ended up making like 13 videos. So back in December 2019, I contacted them so I can do the giveaway. I wanted to do the giveaway before the holidays because it would have been an excellent present for someone. I wasn't getting any type of response, so I emailed them back a couple times until about mid-January, and I decided, I'm not going to pursue this anymore. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do the giveaway, which I was hoping to. And I hope for anyone that purchases this air fryer, if you have problems, their customer support doesn't ignore your emails. So I'm in the market for a new air fryer. Let me know if there's something specific you want to see. I have my eye on a couple different ones, but I haven't made up my mind on what I want to choose.